gentlemen, in this very video I'm going to show you my 11 most favorite fragrances from 2024, and if your favorite fragrance from 2024 is not in here, it's either because it hasn't been one of my favorites, I haven't worn it long enough to give you a full review, or I simply haven't tried it yet. There have been so many releases in 2024, it's almost impossible to smell them all, but here in this video I'm going to show you my 11 most favorite ones. So let's not waste any more time and let's begin. The very first and lowest rated one on this list is going to be Roja Parfums Aoud Extraordinaire. This fragrance is insanely expensive, 720 euros or $756 for 100 ml. In my opinion, is absolutely insane, but this fragrance does smell nice in my opinion. You get this burst of fruitiness and some citruses at the top, and I mostly pick up on a mango, pear and apple accord, which gives you a very crisp, bright, fruity and slightly citrusy feeling at the top. Whenever this fragrance gets to dry just a little bit, you pick up on some floral nuances that give you a very bright floral lift, and whenever this fragrance gets to dry completely and come into the dry down, you pick up on cotton candy with some toffee caramel sweetness and perhaps a little bit of a woody oud sensation, but I don't pick up on almost any oud whatsoever. It's mostly going to be a very sweet, airy cotton candy toffee caramel dry down with some very faint fruity nuances that you can still pick up on after the top has disappeared and you're only left with the dry down. On my skin, Roja Parfums Aoud Extraordinaire lasts 18 plus hours, which is absolutely insane for this type of fragrance in my opinion, but the projection does lag a little bit. It's going to be moderate for around an hour, which is then going to dry to a mild skin scent and be that for the rest of the lifetime of the fragrance. So even though this fragrance smells absolutely incredible, it's very complex with a lot of different nuances and it lasts a very long time, the projection in my opinion is very mediocre, especially for the insane price that you're going to pay for 100 ml. So therefore, even though I really enjoyed this fragrance, I'm going to give Roja Parfums Aoud Extraordinaire a 8.9 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. If you can try it, definitely give it a try, but I would never recommend blind buying this, especially for the price that this goes for. The next fragrance I don't have a bottle of, but I did try it a good amount of times when I was in London in 2024, and that is Tom Ford Eau d'Ombre Leather. This was a flanker that I did not expect would smell like it does. It's not as leathery as the Eau de Parfum and the Parfum, which I do own and have made a comparison of, but it smells a lot like Yves Saint Laurent Baby Cat, but if it was originally made by Tom Ford and not Yves Saint Laurent. So if you like Yves Saint Laurent Baby Cat, you will also enjoy Tom Ford Eau d'Ombre Leather. It is very sweet, vanilla-y, with some slight spiciness here and there. You're also going to smell this very leathery but silky smooth, soft and almost powdery suede accord, which is going to give you this ombre leather sensation, but in a very vanilla forward and perhaps a suede way. On my skin, Tom Ford Eau d'Ombre Leather lasts over 16 hours with a very nice scent bubble for around an hour or so, which then dries to a moderate and a mild skin scent in the end, which I think is very good longevity and projection for this price point. And because of this fragrance's surprising parameters and great value for money, I have given Tom Ford Eau d'Ombre Leather a 9.3 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. If you can't get yourself a bottle of Yves Saint Laurent Baby Cat, or you think it might be slightly too expensive, I can highly recommend Tom Ford Eau d'Ombre Leather as an alternative. From one Tom Ford fragrance to another, I'm going to go with Tom Ford Black Lacquer. This was such a pleasure to wear, enjoy and review. I was so surprised when I tried this fragrance out. This fragrance opens up with a very dark, mysterious, almost leathery vinyl accord, which is very, very unique. I have not tried something like that before. It's spicy, smoky, very resinous, with some fresh spicy nuances. There's going to be a peony accord to give you some of this floral lift, and there's also an apricot accord, which is very noticeable, especially at the top. It gives you some contrasting fruity sweetness to the very leathery dark, resinous, smoky nature of the scent. I think it is incredible. I think it's complex, it's nuanced, and it's very unique. There's so many good things to say about this fragrance. On my skin, Tom Ford Black Lacquer lasts 10 to 12 hours with around an arm's length of projection that becomes a moderate and a noticeable but still mild skin scent at some point. I think after an hour or so. Perhaps one of the most unique and best fragrances released from a designer brand, even if it's from the private line or not. And I've given Tom Ford Black Lacquer a 9.4 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. I think it is incredible. Next up, I'm going to mention all 4 fragrances, and that is going to be these 4 from Theodoros Kalotinis: Cinnamon Rolls, Bubblegum Factory, Pistachio Latte, and the U.SE exclusive Caramel Brownie. I have just released a review of all 4 of these brand new releases from 2024, and they are all absolutely incredible. Cinnamon Roll smells like a cinnamon roll or rice pudding with cinnamon on top, and it's absolutely incredible, delicious, and mouth-watering. Bubblegum Factory smells like strawberry bubblegum, which is insanely strong and perhaps beast mode, and the longest lasting one from these 4 here. Pistachio Latte is going to smell of a very milky, lactonic, but still nutty and green pistachio coffee, and it's absolutely delicious as well, and mostly very lactonic and milky. And lastly, Caramel Brownie, which is an exclusive fragrance to only be sold at U.SE or Swedish Face, which is going to smell of a literal caramel brownie with some buttery, milky, creamy nuances there as well. All of these 4 fragrances last at least 12 plus hours. Some of these last over 18 hours, and Bubblegum Factory lasts over 24 hours. And all of these have great projection as well, which is going to be more than moderate. I have rated all of these over 9.5 out of 10, but I highly recommend you to watch my review, which is up here in the corner. It's one of my best videos where I review a whole brand's new releases, and I think you definitely should check it out. And I also think you should check all 4 of these out if you have the possibility to do so. And that was Cinnamon Rolls, Bubblegum Factory, Pistachio Latte, and Caramel Brownie from Theodoros Kalotinis. Next up is another fragrance that I unfortunately don't have a bottle of, but in my opinion it's the best designer release of 2024, and that is Hugo Boss Bottled Absolu. This fragrance took me by surprise in perhaps every way. This, in my opinion, reminds me if you took Boss Bottled Elixir and Boss Bottled Triumph Elixir, mixed them together and overdosed this fragrance with even more patchouli. Whenever I applied this fragrance to begin with, it reminded me a lot of the combination of the 2 fragrances, but whenever it started to dry, the patchouli started to really dominate the scent profile with some added smoky, resinous touches, and the patchouli started to be very chocolatey, dark, and there were also some balsamic, resinous, smoky, leathery touches throughout the entire scent profile. It is very complex, dark, earthy. It is such an incredible fragrance. On my skin, Hugo Boss Bottled Absolu lasted 10 to 12 hours with an arm's length of projection for around 1 to 2 hours, which then dried to a moderate and at some point a mild but noticeable skin scent. Because of this fragrance's incredible parameters and quality, I've given Hugo Boss Bottled Absolu a 9.6 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. Such a surprise, and in my opinion it's the best designer fragrance of 2024. Fragrance number 9, which I'm going to mention, technically came out in 2023, but I discovered it in 2024 and I couldn't not include it in this list, and that is BornToStandOut Nanatopia. This is going to remind you of a slightly boozy gourmand banana cake, which I think is absolutely delicious and mouth-watering. I need a bottle of this fragrance as soon as possible. This is one of the most interesting gourmands I have ever tried, and I am in love with this scent. It's going to have some sweet, fruity nuances coming from the banana accord, but at the same time you're going to get this cake-like doughy sensation with the booziness at the top coming from rum, really rounding out the fragrance, which isn't going to give you any sharpness or really anything that sticks out the most. It is just a very well composed and well crafted fragrance, which quite literally becomes a banana bread scent, which I think is incredible. It's going to be very linear. In my experience, this fragrance doesn't really change that much when I wore it, but I think that's for the better. I love how this fragrance smells and how much it resembles the scent of banana bread with some boozy touches here and there. On my skin, BornToStandOut Nanatopia lasted over 16 hours with a very nice heavy scent bubble for around an hour or so, which then dried to a moderate and in the end a mild skin scent. If you want something that smells like banana bread, I think this is the best fragrance to go for. And I have given BornToStandOut Nanatopia a 9.7 out of 10 men's improvement rating. Second to last fragrance that I'm going to mention on this list is going to be from the Roja Haute Parfumerie Pierre de Velay Chou. Chou is a French nickname you give to something or someone that you love the most, and I really love this fragrance. This is, in my opinion, one of the best chocolate fragrances ever made and a modern masterpiece for sure. This fragrance smells like chocolate oranges. To be very straight up with you, you are going to pick up on some citrusy, sweet, fruity nuances, but mostly you're going to be hooked by this very milky, sweet chocolate accord with possibly some woody nuances and some musks to give you this airy sweetness. Overall, this isn't very a complex scent, but construction wise this is going to smell very complex because there is a lot going on behind the scenes, but in the end it blends so well and so easily into a very chocolate forward fragrance with some citrusy fruity nuances to give you the sensation of a chocolate orange. It is going to be very expensive though. It's going to cost you $630 for 100 ml, which is very lucrative and very expensive. On my skin, Pierre de Velay Chou lasts between 10 to 12 hours with around an arm's length of projection that's going to dry to a moderate and in the end a mild skin scent. The only caveat I have with this fragrance is that it's not going to be the strongest fragrance in the world. It's going to last more than enough, but for the sheer price tag you're paying, I would love to last perhaps even longer, but mostly project much more. But I've given Roja Haute Parfumerie Pierre de Velay Chou a 9.7 out of 10 men's improvement rating. Absolutely incredible chocolate forward fragrance with some citrusy fruity nuances. If you can check this out, definitely do so. Last but not least, definitely in my top 3 of overall releases of the year that I either have or have not reviewed, Lorenzo Pazzaglia Sun-Gria. I have talked about this fragrance so much in 2024 thanks to U.se or Swedish Face for gifting me this fragrance for review, and this is perhaps one of the best fragrances I have in my collection, but also it is one of the best releases of 2024 by far. Not only because it has won a lot of awards, but it's genuinely an incredible fragrance. This is going to be very strong with around 40% oil concentration, very fruity, very dense, sweet, with a boozy wine accord that is going to give you some complexity, and there's also going to be caramel, sugar and vanilla, which is going to give you even more sweetness, even more density and even more complexity to the scent. On my skin, Lorenzo Pazzaglia Sun-Gria lasts over 12 to 15 hours depending on how much you decide to spray, and in terms of projection, it's going to give off an arm's length of projection for around an hour or so, which then dries to a moderate and at some point a mild skin scent. I love this fragrance and I am so grateful to have gotten this fragrance for free for review, and I've given Lorenzo Pazzaglia Sun-Gria a 9.8 out of 10 men's improvement rating. I cannot get enough of this fragrance. So gentlemen, here you go. Here is my top 11 fragrances from 2024. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What fragrances do you think I missed? What fragrances are your favorite from 2024? Comment down below. I would love to see what you have to say down there. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the Men's Improvement YouTube channel for more videos about fragrances, grooming, style, fashion, skincare, fitness, watches, everything that will make you, gentlemen, the best possible versions of yourselves. The last few things I want to ask you, gentlemen, is to smile more because it's free, and I want you to watch these 2 videos right here. This one here below is going to be my latest upload rest. This one up here is going to be video that the YouTube algorithm thinks you will enjoy.